Conference realignment is causing major changes to the future of college football. We saw conference realignment claim the life of the Pac-12 conference, and it looks like it's coming for the ACC next. The ACC conference could be the next casualty of conference realignment because Clemson has taken the Atlantic Coastal Conference to court, and recently the ACC was taken to court not too long ago by Florida State. Now, Clemson and Florida State are both suing the ACC for the same reasons. They won out of their media rights deal, and Clemson in their lawsuit, they flat out said that the ACC, not only are they not allowing them to get out of their media rights deal, but their exit fee to leave the conference is just way too high. And when you look back at how we got to this point, where Clemson and Florida State are so frustrated and they won out, you go back to 2016 when the ACC signed their current media rights deal. It was a 12-year deal. And at the time, media rights deals when it came to college football weren't as big then as what they are now. And the ACC, where they misstepped, is that their media rights deal back in 2016 was way too long. Why would you sign the media rights deal over 2 decades long? And because of that, you weren't able to account for the possibility of college football getting more popular, ratings increasing, and your media rights being worth more money. And schools like Clemson and Florida State, they're suffering because they're not getting enough money to be able to compete with the schools that are making more money than them, like the Alabamas, the Georgias of the world. And there's no reason why Vanderbilt, Indiana, Northwestern, UCF are making more money than what Clemson and Florida State are. Clemson and Florida State have a great reason to want out of the ACC. Being in the ACC, the longer that they remain in this conference, the more respect they seem to lose. The athletic director for FSU, when they got left out of the playoffs, said that it was unforgivable. Because if Florida State was playing in the SEC or the Big Ten, do you think they would have gotten that same treatment? Do you think that they still would have put Alabama in over them despite the injury to Jordan Travis? I think not. And the only way I believe Clemson and Florida State are going to be able to get out of this is if the media rights deal that the ACC signed with ESPN ends up declining the option in 2027. And that's a loophole to this whole thing that not a lot of people are talking about. ESPN has until the beginning of next year, 2025, to decide if they're going to opt out of their media rights deal with the ACC in 2027. And if they do that, then it will allow Clemson and Florida State to easily leave this conference. You see, Clemson's whole justification behind their lawsuit against the ACC is that the ACC can't necessarily have control of their media rights if they say they're leaving the conference. But the problem with that is you just can't leave the conference without paying an exit fee and fulfilling some kind of contractual obligation. You're buying to the terms and the clauses of this contract. And Clemson, like Florida State, they're just trying to throw shit at the wall to find any way to get out of this deal so they can join another conference. And for the people that keep saying that, oh, where are they going to go? There's no room for them in the Big Ten or the SEC. There is always room for schools like Clemson and Florida State. And they're going to have the opportunity to pick any conference they want to go to. If the SEC wants FSU and Clemson, they're going to get FSU and Clemson. Same thing with the Big Ten. These programs bring in way too much revenue, have too big of a fan base for them just to be left out of a potential Power 2 merger. Because that's eventually what's going to happen. The Big Ten and the SEC are pretty much going to merge. They already kind of have somewhat of an alliance. And they're just going to become the Big Two of college football. And if you're not in that Big Two, then you're not really seen as the big boy. And you see all the special treatment that the SEC and the Big Ten are getting when it comes to the new expanded playoffs. They're getting a higher revenue share. They have more teams that get automatic bids into the playoffs. Clemson and Florida State being in the ACC, you don't get the same amount of revenue as those other schools. Even if you do make it to the playoffs, you're still at a disadvantage. It's way harder to win and to compete with schools in the SEC and the Big Ten when you're making way less than them on a yearly basis. Clemson and Florida State are going to get out of this conference one way or another. Is this going to be the death of the ACC if they do lose Clemson and Florida State? I don't necessarily think so. I do believe they can still keep maybe North Carolina, Georgia Tech, Louisville. Miami probably is going to leave along with Florida State because Miami is a big brand too. Despite the fact that they've been down in football for 2 decades, they still have a big fan base. They're in the South Florida market, which is a big media market. Of course, Miami will follow suit with Florida State, and I'm guessing they would be a package deal along with Clemson. And all 3 of those schools could easily get into the SEC, pending if Florida and South Carolina can get over themselves and allow them entrance into the conference, which I believe will happen because money talks. Does it piss you off how much you pay for your monthly phone bill? Why are you getting frustrated when our partner Mint Mobile has plans as low as $15 a month that give you unlimited talk and text on the nation's largest 5G network? Stop getting frustrated with how much you spend on your monthly phone bill and go to trymintmobile.com/JTsports in description and pinned comment down below to get access to premium wireless for only $15 a month. That's only $15 a month. Switching to Mint is easy. It only takes 15 minutes to do. If you're pissed off with how much you pay for your monthly phone bill, switch to Mint Mobile today and go to trymintmobile.com/JTsports in description and pin comment down below to get premium wireless for only $15 a month. Stop getting upset with how much you spend on your monthly phone bill and switch to Mint Mobile today. But the ACC, the way they can survive is if they get on the offensive. You need to go and expand some more. Don't allow the Big Ten to pooch North Carolina and Duke away from you. Go try to get a San Diego State or a Boise State. Hell, they aren't going to be any big names, but at this point, you just need to add teams so you don't find yourself in the same position as the Pac-12 and you just end up with nothing. You have to get on the offensive and try to do whatever you can to save this conference. And I'm going to get into some potential teams that the ACC should look to add when I do my 2024 conference realignment predictions. But these are my thoughts on Clemson's current lawsuit with the ACC. I mean, it's just sad what's happening to college football. The whole landscape of college football as we know it is drastically going through some massive landscaping right now. And I don't really like what happened to the Pac-12. I was a really big fan of Pac-12 After Dark. And now to see the ACC going through what they have to deal with in court with Clemson and Florida State. You know, they made some big mistakes, but Clemson and Florida State, they should have already tried to schedule an exit plan years ago if this is the route they were going to choose, because they did agree to the terms of this current media rights deal. And now all of a sudden, since they're making so less, they want out and they think they can just get out easily. That's not how it works.